this whole acting industry, this whole film industry, is in itself a matrix, because I'll just be sucking up to someone else's ass. I'll just be sucking out someone else's dick. It's just like any industry in life. You kind of gotta suck up to the boss. You kind of gotta get on your knees for whether that be in corporate or the film industry. I was the only Chinese guy out of all my Vietnamese friends. So as you can imagine, there was a sense of wanting acceptance. I was always yearning to be accepted. Our minds are boxed in by society, whether that be our family, our friends growing up, especially in our childhood. So for me anyways, I used to always be seen as the child that had eczema. I used to always be seen as the kid that was scratching all the time and flaring up all over my face, all over my body, severe eczema. So my entire family saw me as that kid, always. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Maverex. I'm your host Maverex, aka Strong Scholar, aka Brendan Shaw. And I just want to dive straight into it and talk to you guys about the whole idea that you can't really succeed in life unless you move out of your hometown. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm actually moving from Sydney to somewhere in North America on the 7th of December, and I've got a one-way ticket straight to Vancouver, but I don't know exactly where I'm going to let my roots spread out. So I was first thinking of LA and pursuing the whole acting thing, doing the whole acting, climbing the ladder there, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't think this is what I want to do, because as an actor, you barely have any power. You barely have any influence over the things that you can do. You are pretty much a pawn on the chessboard. You can only move up, forward. You can't go sideways. You can't jump over pieces. It's the directors and the producers in the acting game, in the film industry, that really have the influence, the power to create what they truly want in their minds. So that really stopped resonating with me, the whole idea of being this actor climbing the ladder in the film industry. So it was actually after I started to consume more content by Andrew Tate, and he really made me realize that this whole acting industry, this whole film industry, is in itself a matrix, because I'll just be sucking up to someone else's ass. I would just be sucking out someone else's dick. Like, I don't want to say anything bad about the acting industry, but it's just like any industry in life. You kind of gotta suck up to the boss. You kind of gotta get on your knees for whether that be in corporate or the film industry. So I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to sell my soul. I want to go my own path. I want to pave my own way. I want to trailblaze my own path that's never been done before. So the more I thought about this, the more I thought about the words that Andrew Tate said, the more I was like, damn, man, I really gotta do my own thing. And so this whole idea of going to LA, I was like crumbling away. And the more I'm being drawn towards Vancouver and setting up my nest there and learning how to fly there. But going back to the whole idea about you have to leave your hometown to really succeed in life, it really resonated with me, because I was like, I really do believe that our minds are boxed in by society, whether that be our family, our friends growing up, especially in our childhood. So for me anyways, I used to always be seen as the child that had eczema. I used to always be seen as the kid that was scratching all the time and flaring up all over my face, all over my body, severe eczema. So my entire family saw me as that kid. Always. They always saw me as that kid. And so because they see me as that person, they treat me like that person. And so the way that they treated me influenced the way that I treated myself. And so it was like a perpetuating cycle. It was a downward spiral. The more that I believed this idea, the more that they reflected that to me, and then I reflected that back to them, and it was like a mirror with a mirror, and the light would just keep reflecting back and forth infinitely. And so it wasn't until I moved to Perth after a toxic relationship breakup, that's another story for another day, but it wasn't until I moved to Perth that I completely revolutionized the way I saw myself. Because when you take yourself out of one environment and you put yourself into another where it's completely new, you're doing a whole 180, you're flipping your whole world on its head, that's the breeding ground for change, positive change, conscious positive change. So when I moved to Perth, I was supposed to be there only for 3 weeks because my auntie wanted me to take care of her cafe while she was in Japan. I ended up staying there for 6 months, and I was living my best life. I was doing everything that I really wanted to do. I got into surfing for the first time, four-wheel driving. I went downhill mountain bike riding, got into sales, tried veganism, got into yoga, learned how to skateboard, learned how to make coffee, just living my best life. And because I was having these new experiences, my brain was changing. The neuroplasticity was at work. And so, going back to the idea that you need to leave your hometown to succeed, when you're in a new place, you're doing new things, you're meeting new people, you're having new experiences. And so that adds the whole idea of you changing, you're metamorphosizing. You're changing from a caterpillar to a cocoon, and then you literally just dissolve your whole ego and you become this whole butterfly. You get to choose what you want to become. And at that time, I wasn't as conscious, but I was waking up. I was starting to see. And so the more that you are aware of your consciousness, the more you're able to incite change in your life. Because it all starts with awareness. If you're not aware of your habit or your bad habit or anything, you're not aware of anything, you're unable to change that thing. So for example, if you're not aware that you have a habit of eating junk food, you're probably going to continue eating junk food because you're in autopilot mode. You're not thinking. You're just going through the motions. But once you can see that you're eating junk food and you're aware of it, you observe it, that's when you have the power to change because you're in this present moment. You take a breath and then you consciously decide to change that habit. So me moving from Sydney to Perth, I was able to be more aware because I was getting left, right and center. I was getting new experiences. I was experiencing things I've never experienced before. And so because I was experiencing things I was never experiencing before, it woke me up. I was shocked out of my state. I wasn't doing the same things on autopilot. And so that is a facilitator for growth and observation and change, positive change. And also because I was meeting new people, they weren't seeing me as a person growing up in Sydney with eczema, with dry skin. And so because they didn't see me as that person, I didn't reflect that. I didn't reflect that person of eczema. I created this whole new identity of myself. At that time, it wasn't conscious. I didn't know why, but my skin was just glowing. I didn't really have to put moisturizer on. And maybe the whole sun sets behind the Indian Ocean. That helped a lot as well. That's a beautiful thing about living on the West Coast anywhere. The sun sets. Whew! I do miss Perth. Perth was really the beginning of this whole spiritual journey. And I always say that I've been alive for 29 years, but I've only started living the last 6. I really believe that. So because the people weren't reflecting that with me, I wasn't reflecting it back. And so I was loving my life. I was glowing. I was floating everywhere I went. And I kind of took it to the next level when I moved from Perth to Canada. Because, man, the people in Canada are so nice. And they love us Australians. So what happened was I took it to the next level. I was like, this is what I want to be. I'm a confident person. I'm a person with shining skin. I'm charming. I'm charismatic. I'm funny. I'm hilarious. I walk with confidence everywhere I go. I move with ease. I'm dripping swag. And because I truly believe that about myself, the physical world slowly starts to catch up to you. Because it all starts here. Always starts here. But once you decide, boom, it happens. Instantly. In the spiritual world and the mental world. But the physical world is always trying to catch up. But if you hold that vibration for long enough, it's going to manifest in this physical world. Just have that vision of yourself, the best version of yourself. That is how you manifest this in this reality. Just hold on to that thought. You might not know how to get there, but if you can see the end product, it will come. Without you trying, especially when you're not trying. Because once you let go, that's when the magic happens. And so going back to the idea that you need to leave your hometown to really change, it's because you're literally a product of your environment. And if you've been in the same environment your entire life, there's a really, really high chance that you're going to stay the exact same way until you do a drastic change, unless you radically change your environment by either moving to another country, another city, where nobody knows who you are, so you can recreate yourself. You can literally choose the new version of yourself, whether that be an extrovert, introvert, happy, sad. You can literally be whatever you want. But you need to decide, and you need to break out of that rut by moving to a new city. You don't exactly need to, but moving to a new city is a catalyst. Or anywhere that nobody knows who you are. Because that's when you can have those first impressions again. And people judge you on your first impression. It's so important how people see you. Because how people see you, that's important. They say it's not important, but it's so important. Especially if it's for such a long time. Because back when I was living in Sydney, which is still right now, I'm still in Sydney right now, but because I've already decided that I'm this new person, I start to walk and talk differently. I start to move differently. I start to record my videos differently. And I'm talking about with friends as well. So it wasn't just family that made me feel the way that I felt my entire life, but friends as well. I was in a friend group and I wasn't exactly the leader in the group. If anything, I was the runt of the litter. I was the only Chinese guy out of all my Vietnamese friends. So as you can imagine, there was a sense of wanting acceptance. I was always yearning to be accepted. And they would always tease me saying, "Oh, you fucking Chinese guy, you fucking Chinese." And obviously I knew it was a joke, but deep down that shit hurts. Words cut deep, even if it's a paper cut. Actually, paper cuts actually hurt way more. But eventually, a paper cut over years, 7, 8, 9 years, that shit cuts all the way to the bone, to your soul. And that really affects how you see yourself. So what's funny was when I moved to Perth, I was like this whole new different person that I created for myself. But when I came back home, I realized that my friends, they still treated me the exact same way, even though I wasn't the same person anymore. Even though I was this person that went through all these experiences, grew all this got to this higher level, the people that have known you since a kid, they're always going to see you as that person. So that goes back, that feeds back into the idea that they see you in this box. And that's not a bad thing. That's not their fault. That's just their experience of you. But you have now expanded way past this box. But they can't see that because they didn't see everything that you went through. So they still see you as that exact same person. And that, depending on how solidified your new identity is in your own soul, it could be a detriment. Because if you're not solid, if your roots are not deep enough into the ground with your new identity, you'll crumble. As soon as this little slight gust of wind from your old friends, your old family members, they come along and they put back their own projections on you, you're going to fall over, you're going to crumble. So what you need to do is you need to solidify yourself enough, long enough, I would say at least 1 year, where you just be this whole new version of yourself. And don't be fake. Don't be fake. Be authentic. Be as you can be. Because that's the only way to be really successful. When you're just living your best life, you're not trying to be like anyone else. You're just bringing out the best you in every single moment. And sometimes we've got to fake a smile. Sometimes we don't want to speak what's on our mind because we don't want to dampen the mood. But that doesn't mean that you're being fake. Spreading positivity is everything in life, guys. So I want to say that when I came back home, so I went to Perth, kind of solidified myself for 6 months, but it wasn't as solid. So I went back to Melbourne for a bit, and that's when my skin started like getting terrible again. It was horrible. Oh, it was just the worst. I felt like a creature, like a fucking, I don't even know what to describe it as. And so I went to Melbourne for 1 month. Skin kind of deteriorated. No, I think it was like 2-3 weeks actually. Skin kind of deteriorated. Went to Sydney for 1 month before I went to Canada for 4 months. And so when I was in Sydney, back in Sydney, after being in Perth for 6 months, my skin just flared up like crazy again. And I don't know if it's because of the habits. Actually, no, I do know, because I was doing the exact same thing. I wasn't eating worse or anything. I was eating the exact same things I did in Perth. But it's because the people around me saw me as the exact same person. And that influenced me. I wasn't strong enough in my new identity. I wasn't solidified enough. I wasn't an oak tree yet. And so because of that, I was easily swayed by the wind. And I crumbled. But what's crazy, as soon as I moved to Canada, 1 month after being back in Sydney, my skin was bad for the first week, but literally after the first week, I started to glow. Because remember what we said about the physical world. It always has a delay time. There's always a catch-up time. The physical is always slower than the spiritual, the mental, the emotional. The spiritual and mental, emotional, that's all instant. You feel that shit instantly. But say you feel really good. You feel really good in your body, in your soul, but your skin is all fucked up, like me back in the day. Your skin will not repair itself until it'll probably start repairing itself, but you won't see the results until like a week. It's like when you have the mindset of going to the gym. You're like, okay, I'm going to start right now. I'm fucking ready to change. I am changed. I'm a whole different person now. But you're not going to see any results until at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you've never gymmed in your life before, I would say 2 weeks, you'll start seeing some kind of change. But you're not going to see anything until you fucking put the work in, and then the consistency comes in. You might get a little pump or something like that, but that will kind of dwindle away right after the first 2 hours of you finishing your workout. So what I'm trying to say is the physical will only start to catch up 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe in 4 months. But the physical is always slowly. If you're consistent, you will catch up. The physical will catch up to you. So what's crazy is right after being fucked up, my skin was fucked up in Sydney. After going to Canada, 1 week later, boom! It's like I didn't even need any moisturizer anymore. And what's crazy was that growing up my entire life, I had always felt like, damn man, I wish I didn't have eczema, because my parents would have to spend money on me. They've probably spent thousands and thousands of dollars on steroid creams, just moisturizers in general, going to the doctors, buying pills to stop the inflammation. I always had that feeling. I always felt like a burden. And I always felt like I was wasting time after I had a shower. I had to put moisturizer on all over my body, lather on. Waste at least half an hour just putting cream on. And the thought would always be like, fuck man. If I didn't have eczema, if I didn't have dry skin, I would save so much time and so much money. I would be such a less of a burden on people. Especially my mum. Shout out to my mum if you're watching this. But what's crazy was when I went to Canada and I had this whole new identity again, nobody saw me as that person anymore. So I could create this whole new persona. This confident guy. This guy with beautiful skin, glowing skin. This guy that didn't need moisturizer. And what's crazy was I didn't put moisturizer on anymore, because in my mind I truly didn't believe I needed it, because I was this new person in Canada. And the craziest thing about it was minus 30 degrees, snowing in Ottawa, and I didn't put any moisturizer on. And my skin was way better than it was when I did put moisturizer on in Sydney. You tell me. Because usually in Sydney, when the winter hits, it's only like, 5 degrees? Maximum minimum, if that makes sense. That's the lowest it would go. But even then, the cold weather fucked my skin. It made me feel so shriveled and dry. But when I was in Canada, wind chill, minus 30 degrees, I didn't put moisturizer on. Only on my face. Not on my body. But in Sydney, I'd put it all over my face, all on my body, triple layered. Whereas when I was in Canada, minus 30 degrees, wind chill, blowing on my face, I only put one layer of face cream on my face. That was all. And my skin had never been that good in its life. You could argue that it was because I was happy and all that kind of stuff. But I was eating junk food as well. I remember eating Costco hot dog. Had the worst fucking diarrhea in my entire life. Like, it was the diarrhea that hurt. Like, it hurt every time I chucked a shit. And I had to chuck a shit like every 10 minutes. That's how bad that diarrhea was. So my diet was not any better in Canada. But I would definitely argue it's because the way that you see yourself. The way the people see you. Everyone saw me as this confident person. Everyone saw me as this guy with really nice skin, lush skin. And that helped me to believe in myself that I did have that skin. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And so when people see you a certain way, although it's not the most important thing, it does help you to see yourself in a different way as well. For example, another example. I have a few students that I've been on a journey with for just over 2 years now. Shout out to my boy Tristan and my boy Marco, my baby bros. When I'm with them, it's a whole different energy. It's like you're playing a role, you're playing a character. Everyone, actor, and I say quotes, actor or not, we are all actors. We're all wearing masks. Whether you're wearing a mask in front of your mum, or your best friend, or a stranger, or when you're on a date, we're all wearing masks. If you're a human, you're wearing a mask. The Japanese have a beautiful quote, proverb. They say, every single human has 3 masks. The first mask is the one that you show to the world, your public image. The second mask is the one that you show to your close friends and family. And the third mask, the truest version of yourself, is when you're alone. And even then, that is a mask. Because we are wearing the mask of a human being. We are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So whether you like it or not, you are an actor. You are acting at all times, even if you don't know. Marlon Brando said it ages ago. Nobody understood what he meant. One of the best actors of all time. He said that everyone's an actor. Everyone's wearing a mask. Whether you're in front of a camera or you're alone, you're still wearing a mask. So it's pretty crazy because when I came back from Canada, because I was there for 4 months, and that's when I decided to surprise my uncle. Shout out to Michael Sianku. I went to surprise him at his wedding. That's a whole nother story for another day. In Cambodia. And so I was like, I'm in Cambodia, I might as well come to Sydney for a bit to visit and surprise my grandma. So came to surprise my grandma. Next minute, I got stuck there for like 5 years. Because that's when I lost the vision in my left eye and dropped a knife on my leg. Went into rock bottom, deepest, darkest depression I've ever been in. Couldn't even look in the mirror because I was so ashamed of my life. Didn't get out of bed till 11 p.m. because my skin was fucked and I didn't even want to see my family. I had breakfast at 11:30 p.m. And so I kind of got stuck here in Sydney. But now I'm ready to take that journey back to America, whether that be the US or Canada, I'm not sure. I've got a one-way ticket to Vancouver right now, but I'm excited, guys. I'm excited to finally get back on this rocket ship because I felt like I kind of started shooting up and then the rocket didn't have enough fuel and it just went all the way back down. And now I'm on the rise again. I've got that energy and we're going shooting right back up. I've got the momentum and I feel that exponential growth coming. I'm terrified because I know fear of success is that's a whole real thing there, guys. But I'm ready. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to fight against the pressure and let the diamonds be formed. So I'm actually leaving in exactly 9 days from now, and I'm just trying to make the most of this time here in Sydney. I'm trying to be as present as I can with every single person in my life, soaking up every single moment, because I know that the only way to really extend time, because time is an illusion, is to be present, to be here in the now. To breathe, to observe, accept the gift of the presence. Trying to be as real as I can, guys. I'm fucking terrified. I don't want to leave my grandma, but I was talking to my friend the other day, my best mate, and I realized that I've been in my this nest of Sydney for too long. I've got to spread my wings and fly by myself, because that's another thing that proves that you need to get out of your hometown to be successful. Because if you don't get out of your hometown is your nest. You cannot succeed in life if you get stuck in your nest. It depends what you have, what goals you have. But for me, I've got big ambitions, guys. I'm not trying to be a cocky cunt. I'm just speaking my truth. I really want to make an impact in this world. I really want to reach my full potential, and I know that's infinite. But as corny as it sounds, I want to shoot for the stars, because I know at least I'll land on the moon. So the only way to grow is to leave that nest, spread your wings and fly. Who knows, you might land face flat on the ground. You might not, your wings might not be strong enough to carry you, but you got to figure it out. You got to at least try. Because if you don't try, then I feel like that's worse than dying. Trying and dying right after trying is a life worth lived. A life well lived. Because if you never try, you can't even die, because you've never even lived. Where's the t-shirt company, guys? I need to put that shit on the t-shirt. If you never try and you die, then you've never even lived. Just taking it one step at a time. Every single day is a new day, guys. Every single second is a new second. We can change who we are right now. We just need to decide. Why? Why do you want to change? What is your purpose? What will we put on this earth to do? Why am I alive? Why am I breathing? Why did God put me here? Why did the universe birth me into this realm at this time, during this time? Why am I living? Why am I alive in 2022? Why wasn't I born 2,000 years ago? Why wasn't I born 2,000 years later? Everything happens for a reason. Every single every single person has a reason for being here right now. If you're alive right now, there's a reason for that. And your purpose is to find out that reason and live it out. Make the most of it. Because you're doing yourself an injustice. You're doing the world. You're doing the universe. You're doing your ancestors. You're doing your kids, your grandkids a disservice if you're not trying to be the best version of yourself every single day. And the only person that you have to blame or thank is yourself. So I'm just going to keep it right there, guys. Thank you for listening to my gratitude rant on why we need to leave the nest to be successful. Why we need to leave our hometown to be the best versions of ourselves. Choose who you want to be, guys. Decide who you want to be and just start acting like that person. Because we're all wearing masks, whether we like it or not. But which mask do you want to wear?